Hey everyone, and welcome to What Did I Miss, where today I am breaking down 5 things that I liked and 5 things that I didn't like in the Zack Snyder Justice League movie. All in all, I thought this film was a much better version and had plenty for fans of these heroes to be happy about. This 4-hour film gives us time to settle into this new world, which is directly affected by the 2 movies before it, and reveals a much deeper and more meaningful story. But it's not without its faults though, and definitely has some moments that will leave people wondering what they just saw. Here I will let you know what I think, but this is always more fun when I hear from you, so let me know in the comments what you thought of the film and was it worth it. This channel, WDIM Plus, is a new channel that I've created in addition to my main channel, so be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to be kept up on all my superhero content. Also, if you do enjoy the video and would like to support the channel, I would appreciate if you would hit that like button since nothing else helps out a new channel like a lot of likes on a video. Alright, so let's get into my list of 5 and 5 things I liked and disliked in Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League. As I said, I did very much enjoy this movie, and the first thing I think that it really does well is that it gives each of the main characters, and even a couple of side ones, time to develop on screen within their own story as well as within the overarching narrative of the movie. In the original Justice League, characters like Arthur Curry and Diana get virtually no character development, and at times you do not even understand how they got to where they are in the story. But in this film, we see Arthur receiving his mother's trident and his armor from Vulko, as well as see Diana actually learn about Darkseid instead of both of them just showing up later in the movie having been given both these things. It feels like the story earns its big moments, and the characters are the ones used to build these up, instead of depending on heavy action sequences and corny jokes to keep the audience's attention. Because of this, it feels like the story respects the fans a bit more than the original. While I did enjoy the character growth, I do believe the movie tried to tell too many origin stories in one film, and that was one thing I didn't like. It may not be obvious since now the other movies have come out, but this is the first film for Aquaman, The Flash, and Cyborg, and while Diana did have one movie before this, it was set almost 100 years in the past. Even Ben Affleck's Batman is a crime fighter with decades of experience, but no real past in this film universe except for what we saw in Batman vs. Superman. So this movie has to spend a lot of time connecting all the dots for these characters. While I think the stories are told well, it is a lot, and at times I think you lose sight of the main plot because of it. I think if either Aquaman or The Flash had at least shown up in another movie before this one, they could have shaved about 45 minutes off this film and still worked for the development of all the characters. This doesn't even count the scenes with Deathstroke and the Martian Manhunter, which really feel shoehorned in, as the brief exposition we are given for their appearance hardly does either character justice. Now, while I may have thought there were too many backstories for one film, I did enjoy them on their own, and the character who I thought benefited the most from this was The Flash, as I really enjoyed both of the scenes that set up his character, and they were some of my favorites in the movie. One was shown briefly in the original Justice League, and that is the scene of Barry visiting his father, played by Dr. Manhattan himself, Billy Crudup, in jail, and I thought that their back and forth was really heartfelt and gave Barry a real purpose. Also, the new scene of him saving Iris West I thought was amazing, and the whole time watching it I was actually yelling at my TV saying, why the hell did they cut this from the movie? It's freaking awesome! Just seeing Barry's powers manifest combined with the action of the scene, and even his dip back into the pet store at the end, I thought could have been taken right out of a Flash comic book page. As a fan of the character, the scene was the closest I felt this version was to the comic book version, and if you're trying to tell an origin story for a comic book character, I think that is one of the best compliments you can give. There was a lot of new dialogue given to Barry and the rest of the cast, and while I did think it was better in this version as a whole, I felt some moments were heavy-handed, and unfortunately, I think that Diana got stuck with most of those parts. What I'm referring to specifically are the scenes when she is fighting Steppenwolf, and after he says that she is his to fight, she states that she belongs to no one, along with her telling a little girl early in the film after she is asked if she can be her, that the little girl can be anyone she wants to be. I believe in the empowering message of these scenes, and I think that this is the venue to express that representation, but when it is so heavy-handed, it just feels like it isn't earned in the story and sticks out like a sore thumb. An example of when this film relays a message through subtext that I thought was very powerful is when Barry first meets Bruce Wayne and they drive off, and there's a large sign that displays a message about suicide awareness. This resonates with the viewer and hopefully makes them think about the subject without holding it directly in front of their face and making them look at it, if that makes any sense. Again, I am all for the message, but I think that there are ways to do it that do not detract from the rest of the scene. Besides a few times the dialogue was not great, I really did love the new tone of this movie, and I think that is another thing that the Snyder Cut did well. I think that most people are worried that this movie is just going to be like one of the remastered Star Wars movies that has only a couple new scenes and maybe a new character, when actually I think this version feels like an entirely different film, and that's one of my favorite parts of it. Instead of being bored by watching the same scenes that I have for the past few years, I thought it was kind of fun picking out the scenes that were the same and other instances in which the scene that had been changed from the one I was used to seeing. This creates an entirely new tone for the movie, and while it may seem dark throughout most of it, I think it ends on a very positive note for all the characters and sets them up for their own adventures. While all the characters benefit from this, I think that the arc of Arthur Curry probably benefits the most from the changes made to the tone, as instead of being shown as a thoughtless brute, as I thought he was in the original Justice League, he's portrayed more as a reluctant champion, which is closer to his actual character. With all this world building, it is easy for things to get lost in the shuffle, and at times, I think because of this, the story depends on the viewer being a fan of these characters and leaves out details that should have been revealed, which I think is an issue for the film. I think the best example of this is the black suit that Superman wears after he returns to the team, and I guess to the living. In the comics, there are times when an evil version of Superman wears the suit, but mostly it is shown to be black because it absorbs the power of the sun at a faster rate and then can heal Superman faster. So when he is injured, he uses the black suit to recharge, so to speak, but that is never revealed in this film. The movie kind of just makes it seem like Superman grabs the next clean suit in a ship, but really that detail about the suit should have been added. Volko and Mira also show up kind of out of nowhere, and if you do not know the story of Aquaman, I could see someone being very confused by who they are. Again, I think if I have one big critique of the movie is that it may be too ambitious at times, and issues like this are examples of why that is. But in the original Justice League, I had issues with pretty much how each character was depicted. But Superman was without a doubt the most disjointed character in the film. This movie brings Superman back to the center in a much more natural way and really gets across the importance of Superman to this universe, which is another thing I think this version does very well. In the DC universe, Superman is a god among gods, and this film not only shows his importance to the world after he is lost, but when he does come back, his entrance in the battle with Steppenwolf is one of my favorite scenes in the entire film. I find that if a scene is really good, that when I watch it, I will just start laughing, even if it is a tense action scene, because it makes me so happy. And when Superman jumps in front of Steppenwolf's axe and says, "Not impressed," I started laughing out loud and jumped out of my seat. Even the beginning credits depict his death and how his cry out is what started the mother boxes up again, and which again was a plot point used in the first Justice League, but it was done in a much more clumsy way, and if you didn't realize it while you're watching it, I wouldn't blame you. Even when Superman is not on screen, you feel his presence and the significance of his role in the story, which is exactly the kind of respect and reverence that the Man of Steel deserved, and it made the entire story that much better. An example of the importance of Superman to the story is the addition of the nightmare scenes to the movie, which depict a future in which the heroes have lost and Superman is now evil. While I did like the scenes, especially the dialogue between the Joker and Batman, and I gotta say, I know that Jared Leto is getting a lot of press for his performance, but I think Ben Affleck nailed that scene just as good. I think that the scene does not fit in the movie, and because of that, I didn't think that it really worked. First of all, why is Bruce Wayne dreaming of a possible future? Let me know in the comments if this was ever explained, but besides him seeing Barry Allen in Batman vs. Superman, which we learn he thinks was also part of a dream, why is he able to even see this future? Also, in his dream, Mira is there, but he never shares a scene with her, and she is an Atlantean that he probably shouldn't have never seen before. So why is she in his dream? Again, if I am just watching a movie about this future, I would love it because I love this story in the Injustice games, which is similar to this, but for this movie, it feels like it was just thrown in at the end to appease fans. As a fan, a part of me appreciates that, but similar to my critique about the dialogue, I think there are times when this movie is successful in doing this. For instance, the scene that shows Earth's heroes fighting Darkseid when he first arrives, and we see Green Lanterns and Zeus and Amazons and Atlanteans fighting Darkseid in a scene that seems like a good bit of fan service, but it makes sense in the story. The way the nightmare scene was handled makes it seem more like one of those scenes that producers will throw in to start a new franchise built off a movie, instead of a scene that is integral to the development of any of the characters or the story. Now, I have talked a lot about the members of the Justice League, but one character that definitely got a good bit of redemption in this movie is the villain, Steppenwolf, and I think that this version is one of the best additions to this version of the movie. Sitting here, I honestly couldn't even tell you how the old version of the character looked, because he was just one of those gray monsters that are so prevalent in superhero movies. But I love not only this character's look, but I think that even his arc was done more justice, and we actually get a bit more about why this character is doing what he is doing. His armor was really cool, and to me looked like a cross between the living armor that the character Spawn uses, crossed with the Shredder from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but in the best way. He also seemed a lot more desperate in the original Justice League, which made him not as ominous, but in this film, he is portrayed as a calculating villain focused on a singular goal. This version was also shown to be a lot more brutal in battle, and this added to his evil presence on screen. And even Even though we know that Steppenwolf may not be returning for another film, this movie definitely ends with a lot of open threads, and unfortunately, many may never be resolved, which is disappointing, and I can't help but say is something that I don't like about this movie. The two characters I'm directly referencing are Ray Fisher as Cyborg and Ben Affleck as Batman, and it is almost guaranteed that we will not see either again in the future. A Batman movie with Ben Affleck was planned to be filmed and released after this movie originally, and the scene with Lex Luthor and Deathstroke was meant to be a setup for that. Seeing that in the film is really just a reminder of something that could have been that we will never see. We will see Batman in the future, as Robert Pattinson is set to star in the next Batman movie, and Michael Keaton is set to reprise his version of the character in the Flash movie, but sadly Batfleck is no more. The situation with Ray Fisher is even more complicated, as because of his issues with the studio, it is doubtful that we will ever see him reprise the role again. Fisher did say that he would return if Zack Snyder directed the next film, but that also seems unlikely unless this movie is such a resounding success that it forces the studio's hand. The plan for this universe was very ambitious, but with the recent news of all the new DC series, it appears that HBO is concentrating on smaller projects and may not be in the business of making Justice League movies, at least for a while. Time will tell, of course, but if this story is never expanded upon, at least we will have this version to watch and think about what might have been. Well, those are 5 things that I liked and 5 things that I didn't like, but let me know in the comments, what did I miss? What did you think of this version of the film, and would you like to see this universe continue? Remember, this is a new channel, so if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, but don't forget to subscribe to this channel and check out my other channel too. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?